Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
कमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं चाप्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सगन ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavansham Sri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Dalita Sri Vishakhanitanscha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur-Bhakta-Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanscha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
First one in attendance. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jayo Gopi Janavala Girivaradhari Jayo Gopi Janavala Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Gopi Janavala Girivardhari Jayo Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, text number 29. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati Would you like to repeat the verse? Would you recite it again? Bhoktaram yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati Bhoktaram yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantim Richati. Purport and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Purport. The conditioned souls within the clutches of illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita, the greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is a beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because he is a proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Shvetasvatra Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is a master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is a sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. The 5th chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as a predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute, and the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God, as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya, illusion, due to the desire of the Lord, due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life, even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above-mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage, or Brahma Nirvana. The eightfold yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Niritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunantanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. So I'll repeat the translation again. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Jai. So before I begin, I'd like to ask for the blessings of all the Vaishnavas present, Vaishnavas upstairs, and all the seniors behind the altar addressing their lordships, so that I speak something of value and something aligned with the Shastra. So this is actually one of the main verses in the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada explains this verse as the peace formula, because herein in this verse Krishna gives the explanation how we can be peaceful. This verse itself has 3 aspects to it, which explain and give some realizations about Krishna himself. And this is something I'd like to talk about in my class today. So once Prabhupada was in a meeting with his disciples, and they were just giving him updates, and he just asked for more updates, and he was like, what other news do you have? And one of his disciples, I think it was Rameshwar Prabhu, and he reported to Prabhupada that these Americans, some of these reporters they're just constantly trying to attack us. And then Prabhupada, like everyone expecting Prabhupada to say something like, okay, we should do something about this, like this, that, and whatnot. And then Prabhupada instantly replied, that is peaceful. That will bring peace. And I heard this during the lecture, and I'm like, what? Like this the way Prabhupada thinks is like so out of the box. And then I was just reflecting, like, why would Prabhupada say this? And then through my own realization, like I realized that means that if someone attacks us, they're asking questions, they're challenging the philosophy, they're in the association of devotees. And once you are in the association of devotees, once you start inquiring, that is exactly when your devotional service starts. Because when we try to preach to others, all we are trying to do is spark that question in others about Krishna, somehow intrigue them about Krishna. So if the reporters come to us attacking us, this is a good sign, because that will eventually bring peace to us. So I was like, wow, Prabhupada was like so ahead. Like he was like, yes, that's peaceful. He could see that it would bring peace to the world. Yeah, so as like we all are looking for happiness, but this is where we exactly make the mistake, that it's not happiness that we're actually looking for. Because happiness comes from being peaceful. You could be happy in any moment, but you also couldn't be peaceful because you're worrying about something else. You have anxiety about some other things or other tasks you have to do. So happiness is something temporary. But the factor behind the happiness which we are actually looking for, which the soul is hankering for, is being peaceful. Because the nature of the soul is to be Satchidananda. And we will automatically be peaceful when we try to do things which bring us happiness. When we try to satisfy ourselves not in a material way, but satisfy the needs of the soul, not the needs of the body. And I just wanted to go deeper into the concept of happiness. I was like, what is exactly happiness? I went on Google and I just typed happiness meaning. And then he said, happiness means the state of being happy. So then I was like, what does being happy mean like? So then he said, it means to be content. But then what does being content mean like? And then it's like, okay, being content means satisfaction. What does satisfaction mean? Satisfaction means fulfillment of one's wishes, expectations, and needs. And this is where I stopped. I was like, okay, this is going to go into a loophole again and again. But then this is a good point to reflect. Fulfillment of one's wishes, expectations, and needs. If we focus on our wishes and needs, even if we get the whole universe, we won't be able to satisfy ourselves. So that is why we try to satisfy the needs of the Lord, the desires of the Lord. And in this way, we can attain the peace formula which is given by Krishna himself in this verse. There are actually three very important and fundamental realizations which are given about Krishna himself in this verse. The first one is that Bhoktaram Yagatapasam, that whatever work we do is actually meant to be offered to Krishna. That's the first realization, that we should do everything for Krishna, because that is our eternal constitutional position. I think in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Jivara Swarupa Hoye, Krishnera Nitya Das. So that's our eternal position, to be eternal servants of the Lord. So if you're working, but we are working towards Krishna, offering our fruits to Krishna, that is the right kind of work we are doing. And everything is Krishna anyway. If you see around us, all his energies are manifested in different ways. This analogy of a tree is given and the stomach is given. So if you want to water the whole tree, you water the roots. If you want to feed the whole body, you just feed the stomach, and everything is maintained. So in a similar way, the living entity is only satisfied when he acts in a favorable way. If he tries to satisfy just demands of the hand, you wouldn't be able to take care of the whole body. So you have to satisfy the demands which is asked by the Shastra, which is the demands of the Supreme Lord. The psychologists, they have this different perception that, if you go deeper within yourself, just connect to yourself. They have this very impersonal realization of attaining peace, which just includes the individual, but not Krishna. There's nothing about Krishna. There's no emphasis on your eternal relationship with Krishna, which is wrong. And that's a consciousness we are trying to obtain through the process of Bhakti Yoga, because that will lead us to Krishna. That will help us to be peaceful. And in the spirit of loving relationship, Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Yat karoshi, yat asnasi, yat johoshi tadashi yat, yat tapasyasi konteya, tat kurushva madam. That whatever you do that as an offering to me. Whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, do that as an offering to me. So he has made this process already so simple for us. He's not saying that, okay, you don't do this, you don't do that, but even if you want to do things, just do them as an offering to me. That's simple. The process is so simple, and that's out of his love towards us. Everyone has to work, and we should offer that work to Krishna. And we should do that work as a meditation, that we are performing a yajna. As long as we have the meditation in our mind and our hearts that this is a yajna, I'm doing this for the Lord because this is what's recommended for this age, then we will not suffer from karma, from results, because we are always meditating on the Lord, always thinking that, okay, whatever happens, I will perform my duty, but whatever happens, this will belong to Krishna. Whatever happens, whatever results come, this is all Krishna's. And then in this way, you'll be so detached from the activity itself that whatever happens, happiness, distress, you'll remain equipoised in all circumstances. And then Krishna, he's merciful, he awards the pious man accordingly, according to his pious credits and whatnot. Srimad Bhagavatam, in one of the translations, it's text 6, chapter 2, canto 1, it says that the supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So the second aspect of this verse is that the Lord is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that he's the owner of all planets, and no one else in this world should claim that, that they are the proprietors, such as some people do. Donald Trump and like all these other things. America, mine. Make America great again, but it's not yours for you to make it great again, Everything belongs to Krishna. So this is one of the main mentalities, that controlling mentality, that this belongs to me. This is one of the reasons why we get into so much fights and so much arguments. The world wars, happens between nations because of this proprietorship we have. And as soon as we think that we own something, in that very moment we become a thief. Just think that if everything belongs to Krishna, if everything actually belongs to Krishna, if you think that this belongs to me, that's it, you're a thief. And in today's time we see that although although all these politicians and all these like big personalities, they own so much property, which they're actually stealing from Krishna, but someone may argue that why aren't they being punished? They are actually living a good life. But then what they don't see is coming that, the police is coming towards them, but that's a different police. I call it the MDPD, it's Maya Devi's police department. And it will come either in the form of death or either in the form of karma or the past lives, karma from past lives. It will come because you have to suffer good and bad here. So it will come soon. Srila Prabhupada was giving this example of a thief. This thief was in the Bhagavad Katha. He was listening to Bhagavad Katha by a professional reciter, and the reciter was describing Krishna, how Krishna is just bedecked with jewels, he's just covered with jewels, and these are all expensive jewels, you can't find these jewels anywhere. And this thief was like, I want to find this boy. Because if I find this boy, I'll become a millionaire, And then after hearing the Bhagavad Katha, he got so intrigued to find Krishna that he was like, okay, I need to go Vrindavan, I need to go Vrindavan. And although he was a thief, he was thinking about Krishna. Although he was thinking about taking away from Krishna, but still he was thinking about Krishna. And that's what matters. That's what matters. Srila Prabhupada was stressing this point. Anyway, so the thief, he goes to Vrindavan, and in the Katha he was hearing that Krishna tends to go to the forest to take the cows, on a walk. So he goes to the forest, and because he had the strong desire that I must see Krishna, and because of this desire, Krishna fulfilled that desire to see him. And then the thief comes across Krishna, he's literally and Krishna is like a small boy, and then the thief's asking Krishna, can I take your jewels? And then Krishna is like, no, Mother Yashoda will get mad at me. I can't give it. Mother Yashoda will get angry. And then the thief gets more intrigued because he really wants the jewels. He's getting really impatient, And then Krishna is just no, I'm not going to give it to you. And then Krishna is trying to protect himself, And then they have this back and forth for a few minutes. And then Krishna eventually was like, okay, you have these jewels. I'll give these jewels to you. But then when he gave the jewels to to the thief didn't want those jewels because his heart had transformed. Because by associating with the Lord, by talking to the Lord, his heart transformed. He became a devotee of the Lord. He was like, Lord, I don't want this. I just want to become your devotee. And that was enough for the thief to become a devotee. So even if you have the mentality to steal, if you can somehow just deviate that towards Krishna, that will help you so much in your devotional life. That's all that matters. But the materialist, so our eternal position is to be the servant of the Lord, eternal servant of the Lord. But the materialists, they cannot perceive this glorious position because of also the modern times, servants are considered like someone of a low class or whatever. But in the spiritual world, that's the highest job you can get. Srila Prabhupada was often say become great by serving the great. And that's what devotees do. We serve the great and we become great. And the third aspect of this verse is that Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, that Krishna is a friend to all living beings. Now this is something which people often get wrong, because the concept of God is so, it seems so fearful, because one of the opulences of the Lord, one of the 6 opulences of the Lord is to be all-powerful. And because people think that God is all-powerful, they become very fearful, They bow down to the Lord, but they bow down out of fear, not out of love. And this is something they get wrong. But Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that he's our friend. And that's also a fact because he's also in our hearts as Paramatma. Now imagine someone who has been through your happiness, your distress, he knows your internal desires, what you want, what brings you satisfaction, and all these internal secrets you have. How can that entity not be your best friend? How can the entity not be your closest friend? So Krishna is our closest friend. We might have, many friends, and they might not have good intentions, Or even if they have good intentions, but they won't be able to help us in our ultimate test of death. Because that's when all our material relations, all our material possessions, they are just absolutely useless. And in that time, only Krishna can help you to get through this material world, to get through the clutches of Maya. But saying that, we still need friends. Don't become fanatics. Be like, no, I don't need anyone. I just need Krishna. But the real friend in this world is the one who tells you that Krishna is your best friend. That's a real friend. And these kind of people you need to be in the association of. If you're in the association of people who are pushing you towards Krishna, who are reminding you of Krishna at every moment, who are inspiring you to be more Krishna conscious, that's the association you need. That's a real friend in this material world. As Arjuna's friend, Krishna was, he was the best charioteer, He was the best intimate friend, and he was the best spiritual master because he guided him. So similarly, like Arjuna, we also have different rasas with Krishna, which can also be called relationship. But rasa is more of an esoteric term. So we all have different rasas with Krishna. There are 5 kinds of principal rasas. So either of the rasas, we have an eternal relationship with Krishna. That's already established. But even regardless of the rasa, either devotees or non-devotees, Krishna is a friend to all. He says in Bhagavad Gita 9:29 that Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshasti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mahiteteshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But one who renders devotional service is a friend, and I am also a friend to him. So we can see that we need to make peace with God to be peaceful ourselves. Yeah. And it's not that each person has to go on an individual journey to, just establish this relationship or start from scratch. It's already there. Your eternal relationship with Krishna is already existing. All you have to do is just unveil that relationship. And you unveil that relationship through the process of Krishna consciousness, through the process of bhakti yoga. And the main activity which you do is chanting the holy names. Sorry, I'm just trying to skim through because I ran out of time. So I also researched, as I researched happiness, I also researched what the word peaceful means. So the dictionary meaning of peaceful is undisturbed by strife, turmoil, or disagreement. And I'm like, what? Like, it's just difficult to find any situation or a place like that in the material world. Bhagavad Gita explains in chapter 6, I think, that when you are in that joyous state, you experience transcendental happiness and you think that there is no greater gain. In that position, you are never shaken. When you actually hit that peace point, that peaceful point, you are so undisturbed by anything that happens around you. And it's so hard to find that place physically in the material world. So we can conclude that being peaceful is not something about your peaceful physical environment, but it's more about how much the soul is at peace with Krishna, how much the soul is at peace with accepting Krishna as a supreme, how much the soul is at peace with accepting Krishna as your Lord, as a Lord of the heart. And it is possible for the devotee who sees Krishna in everything, as everything as well. Srila Prabhupada says that realization that there is no existence besides Krishna is a platform of peace and fearlessness. And once you have this quality of peace and fearlessness, you go, devotional life just flies. So this process of Krishna consciousness helps an individual to remember Krishna, wherever he is, and to chant Hare Krishna, whether you're in heaven or hell. And through this process, as a devotee practices this sincerely, the peacefulness in a devotee, which is actually one of the qualities of a Vaishnava, it'll automatically come as a blessing from Krishna once you actually start sincerely practicing devotional service. So I'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki. Take any questions, criticism, corrections. Any questions? Yeah, I can repeat it. Okay, so if I've understood your question, you're asking, we hear about all these good qualities a devotee is meant to have, but in the heat of the moment, we often forget these qualities and act in the opposite way. So you're asking for tips on how to remember Krishna and have those qualities in that moment, right? This is something I am still also practicing. The way I try to practice this is by serving the person who has those qualities. If I see a quality of, say, for being humble in a person, I start serving that person. And in being in the association of that person, that quality rubs off on me. And I learn, because I'm reading in the Shastra about being humble, but I actually don't know how to apply it. But I see a person who is applying, from my knowledge, how to be humble. So by serving that person, by being in the association of that person, it helps me to practically see how he's dealing with other devotees, how devotees deal with him, and then how I can have that quality in myself. One thing I try to do in the heat of the moment is that, it's not always I try to do, but I try to take this pause. When the other person is speaking, I try to just zone out and in the moment, because I'm just like thinking in my thoughts what to say, and I just take a deep breath inside. And I want to say a lot of things, but I just hold myself down and I just take a deep pause and I ask the devotee, be like, okay, I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Because I know that in the heat of the moment I can just go like on and on, he can just go on and on. So I just ask them for a little time and I'll be like, okay, I'll reflect on this, I'll think of the points, and I'll come back to you and then we can talk about this again. But also one way to develop these qualities in ourselves is to actually put ourselves in those situations. If we know that this situation is going to humble us, so sometimes I do put myself in that situation because it will help me to be humble, or be humbled by the person I am. So sometimes it's a voluntary process, but when I'm going voluntary in a situation, I'm mentally prepared for it, so it's easier to see or accept what's coming. But when it happens to you, just normally, then it's like a bit difficult sometimes. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions?
So I try being humble outside in the world, but at home with people who are personal to me, it gets a little tough to be humble when I see them doing anything wrong or I do anything wrong and we end up like arguing, or because when you know a person personally, that humbleness doesn't come out. So how can I change that?
So if I've understood your question, that you're able to be humble with devotees who are not you, so who you are not so close with, but with family members or close friends, you just tend to just let it flow. Yes, familiarity is one of the reasons why we tend to make offenses. Srila Prabhupada was once taking bath in the river, and his disciples started throwing water at him. He was like, no, you can't throw water at me. The essence was that, like being too familiar with the spiritual master so that you don't become too close or, make offenses. That's a good question actually, because we think that with family members, because they're so close to us, we can just be honest. But sometimes we can't differentiate between being honest and being offensive, So there's a way to be honest, there's a way to give feedback to someone, but there's also a way to react and respond. So you can see if you're reacting to a situation, if you haven't thought about it and if you're just like snapping back at them. Responding is something different. Responding is you accept what they've said, take a moment, think about your response, how that will impact, if that will even improve the situation or not. You take just a moment, pause. All we got to do is just slow down to speed up. Prajbhari Prabhu says that we should always slow down to speed up. So in that moment, all you got to do is just slow down the pace of the